Let's get to some news from the week, and we're gonna start with TNA Wrestling, which is a very weird sentence to say because we never start our news with TNA Wrestling, but we have to in this case kasi binalik ng Impact yung iconic na TNA Wrestling name. So, I don't know what spurred this action, why this came to be, but we're getting back something that a lot of us, especially from our generation, grew up being very familiar with.
I actually have some insight on why they did this. So apparently, according to reports, it's still being very much referred to internally and by business partners as TNA. So yun talaga yung tumatak na pangalan. It has name recall, it has brand recall, and admittedly, it was originally a dumb idea as a TNA really stood for tits and ass, diba? Back in the Attitude Era. And then it just stuck. It became iconic. So because nobody stopped calling it TNA, it's much better to just go back to the TNA name.
Actually, it stood for Test and Albert. That is what
No,
pushed that.
yes, but the Tess and Albert thing was an in joke to refer to tits and ass.
Okay, fine. But yeah, no, I agree. Kasi I still call Impact TNA
Yeah.
from time to time. Nadudulas pa rin ako because it's the name that stuck. They were able to, first of all, the only thing more ridiculous than TNA is the part where they try to put meaning behind TNA. Oh, it's total non-stop action. Diba? Parang ano yung network ba yan? Ano siya? Sports show? What is it?
Hey,
Diba?
12-year-old me actually thought it made sense, okay?
Diba?
I
So,
mean, to be
ako,
fair, Philippine
Okay.
Wrestling Revolution isn't really the best name either.
okay. But at least may wrestling eh, diba? So at least you know what it is.
No, it's
Ito,
TNA
wala
Wrestling. The
talaga
full
eh.
name is TNA Wrestling.
Yeah, okay. So like yung part ng TNA that to me didn't make sense. But I like how they were able to build it up to this name brand that is recognizable by all. The current even in the current episode of Impact that's out right now on YouTube, if you are a subscriber, mapapanood mo yung whole seance, if you will, the ceremony that they did with all the OGs that are still part of the roster today. So in this little vignette, they had Josh Alexander, they had Chris Sabin on there, they had Eddie Edwards and his wife Alicia. They also had madami sila nandun, and they had this ceremony of trying to resurrect the TNA brand, if you will, kasi it's about time na daw. Diba? Which makes sense, I guess, kasi isa na din bumabalik yung mga veterans ng TNA wrestling, and I think it's apropos for the moment.
Yeah.
Glendale says, sorry, real quick. Glendale says TNA had a lot of name changes. It's just 3, and then 2 of those name changes were focused on TNA. So it was NWA TNA, then became TNA, then became Impact, and then we go back to TNA. So it's not like you're changing it completely all throughout.
Is this one of those changes that moves the needle for you?
Yes, but not so much because may sizable fan base at TNA, and I think it is a net positive for them to go back to the name na pinakakilala sila. Like, to give you a more recent example, I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Copeland ever goes back to Edge because, he's been Edge for what? The past 25 years, diba?
Yeah.
So eventually they're going to go back to that. They're going to find a way to go back to that, the way Cody found Rhodes back in AEW. So I think it's great to have TNA, as a marketing person, it's great to have TNA have its old name back. Kasi when you say Impact Wrestling, you kind of load for a minute. If you're not familiar with Impact Wrestling, you load utak mo for a moment to say, what is Impact Wrestling? What the fuck is he talking about? But when you say TNA, you know what TNA is. You know what that company is. So it's easy. It's memorable for everyone, every wrestling fan, and it goes back to the historic name that they had.
Ikaw, Chino, you're the huge Impact fan here.
Ako, I've always been an Impact watcher, so it technically doesn't matter to me. Kung bumalik sila ng TNA, it's good for them. But I mean, at the end of the day, the quality of wrestling that they're putting out is getting better and better, to be honest. Just look at Bound for Glory, guys, over the weekend.
Yeah,
Ang
it's
ganda
good.
ang ganda ng Bound for Glory. I think one of the best Impact shows in a long time. So I might pick something from that show. Just be on the lookout sa aming pick of the week's episode. But all in all, man, I mean, regardless of what they're called, diba? What's in a name and all that. Kasi Impact is still Impact.